And we are live. We got Lia Miller here, One of One's episode 7.
Lucky number
She is
seven.
the she is the author of the Low Vitamin A Cookbook.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for asking me to do this.
So the first question I ask everybody is, what did you eat today?
Okay, so today I had turkey bacon, I had an apple, I had a shot of decaf espresso, and I also had a morning glory muffin. That was breakfast.
Nice.
And then lunch was a turkey sandwich and a cup of beef and barley soup.
Sounds clean to me.
Yeah. And I eat. I don't play around. I eat a lot of food.
And how long have you been on a low vitamin A diet?
Almost 6 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us the story. Tell us your whole journey. What happened?
Sure. So when you asked me to do the podcast and you said, I want to hear your story, I took that assignment seriously.
Yeah.
So I went through and I pretty much made a timeline of how I got to the really bad place that I was at, all of my symptoms, everything that I tried. So I do have kind of a timeline and I'll just kind of be going off of it. But
yeah.
Really, my story starts in early childhood. I came from a very health-oriented family. My father's a chiropractor. We juiced 2 to 3 times a week. We ate a ton of vegetables. We had salads every night, pasta and tomato products. We ate the rainbow. We ate a ton of carotenoids. And I remember having strange symptoms as a child after eating. Sometimes I'd get like 3-inch welts on my abdomen. Sometimes random parts of my face would swell up after eating, but they were always unpredictable and inconsistent. So we never really knew what caused it. Yeah. And then at about the age of 15, I started on birth control pills because my periods were irregular and really painful, which Dr. Smith has a great video out talking about the connection between oral contraceptives and higher vitamin A levels. So there's definitely a connection there. So fast forward to college, I went through abusing my liver phase, we'll call it.
Yeah.
And eating really unhealthy foods. And although I felt pretty good, I put on like a good 10 to 15 pounds. That always just kind of stuck with me. It was always really hard to lose that weight. I'd lose a few here and there, but really it just 10 to 15 usually was on me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really like meat. I was practically a vegetarian. I really gravitated towards the vegetables. So fast forward, and feel free to interrupt me because I might just pop on and on and on. But fast forward to grad school, and I started the primal diet because I wanted to lose weight. That was all the fad, primal and paleo, right?
Yeah.
And I started having symptoms that I didn't necessarily correlate with the diet, but I started having dizzy spells, feelings of low blood sugar, episodes of extreme fatigue, trouble sleeping, especially before a test, so anxiety, dizziness while driving, and then really bizarre like reactions to working out. If I went and worked like my biceps, my arms would be stuck in like the flex position for a day, which as a chiropractic student, that really didn't work. So I pretty much stopped working out. I said, okay, I always end up getting injured or having these really weird reactions. But I stuck with the primal diet because my weight was stable and I really liked that. And I bought into the whole, grains and gluten are really evil and really bad for you. So I stuck with it. But after grad school, I started my practice and I was also bartending on the weekends until my practice was established. And the symptoms definitely started becoming more consistent and worse. But I really chalked it up to just stress, burning the candle at both ends. I mean, working during the week at the practice, working on the weekends bartending, staying up till 4 a.m. on the weekends and all that stuff. I truly thought that the symptoms would just go away given time because I thought I was doing everything, healthy in the right way.
Yeah.
In late 2012, a huge shift took place overnight. All of my symptoms progressed and I woke up one morning in complete panic, like fight or flight mode. I couldn't make eye contact. I had vertigo. I was experiencing paranoia. I was having a constant racing heart, agoraphobia. All of a sudden I couldn't handle being around people, being around in a public place. So I really felt like I had woken up in a stranger's body in a nightmare. And these acute symptoms lasted for about 3 weeks. And I was never the same after. So I tried to function and work through it for a couple of months, but it was pretty much impossible. I could barely make it to the office. My office was only 20 minutes away, and I would have to stop like 4 times on the way and pull over and try to calm myself down and deal with the vertigo and deal with the anxiety and the panic. And then when I did finally make it into the office, I couldn't make eye contact with my patients. I couldn't carry on conversations. So pretty much I had no option but to sell my practice.
Wow.
So I had convinced my husband, I was like, I just need a summer off. Like it's been go, go, go since I was 18. This has to be stress. This has to be, I just need some time off to figure out what's going on with my health. So I decided to take a summer off. And at the same time, mold was discovered in our apartment. So I thought, this is the root cause. This is what's been causing all of my issues. So I consulted with the top mold experts, the top mold testing company, and they said, okay, you got to get rid of everything because mold is really bad, but it's the mycotoxins that they release that can get embedded into furniture or clothing. They're the things that cause a lot of troubles with people who experience like mold toxicity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we got rid of furniture, like clothing. We got rid of literally everything that couldn't be washed in a special mold solution.
Wow.
And then we moved, and I started to do really expensive and thorough mold treatments. And I continued to get worse. So then we thought, okay, maybe it's not mold. Obviously, living in a moldy place is not good, but maybe that's not the reason for all the health issues. So for the next 6 years of my life, every day of my life, I would struggle with the following, and it's quite a long list. So feel free to interrupt at any point.
No, you're good. Keep going.
So agoraphobia. I could not go into a mall. I could not go into a concert. I could not go into a busy restaurant, like complete. And I had never had that before.
Most people would call this social anxiety.
Oh, but this was like
more
way past that.
Right.
This wasn't just social anxiety. This was complete. If my life depended on it, I wouldn't go into a mall. Like, could not do it. Okay. Even empty places like a grocery store at night would be completely panic inducing. I'd have to sit in the car and like really rev myself up to like walk into the grocery store.
Wow.
Which my history, I was never like that. I loved going out, loved going to concerts. So it was definitely a huge shift from how I normally was. I had extreme sensitivity to smells. So walking down the aisle in the grocery store with all the laundry detergents and fabric softeners was really troubling.
Yeah.
I had a constant racing heart. I had tinnitus, but not just ringing in the ears, also the pulsatile tinnitus, which is like the rhythmic thumping sound in the ears. I had insomnia. I couldn't fall asleep until 4 a.m. No matter how tired I was. I laid in bed until 4 a.m.
Wow.
And when I would lay down to try to go to sleep, my whole body would vibrate. It would feel like somebody took a cell phone, put it on vibrate mode, and put it on my body.
Sheesh.
Yeah, I had extreme fatigue. I had exercise intolerance, which only got worse. Anytime I tried to exercise, it pretty much put me on my back for 2 days. I had brain fog. I had aching joints pretty much all over. It would be random places, but also my neck. I would wake up with like the random stiff neck. And then every morning my husband would have to rub my neck before even getting out of bed because it was just so achy and so stiff. And being a chiropractor, I was getting adjusted. I was doing all these things that you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
And it just never got any better. So I had a complete inability to function if I didn't get at least 9 hours of sleep, which means I wasn't really getting out of bed until 1 p.m.
Wow.
I had daily anxiety, extreme dizziness, an inability to drive. It would trigger panic attacks. I had endometriosis type symptoms because at this point I'd gotten off the birth control pill and my periods went back to being just as crappy as they were back when I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
I had near constant facial breakouts. I had blistering eczema on my fingers. I had chronic stuffiness. I couldn't breathe out of my nose. I had a complete feeling of hopelessness and depression. And even like my personality changed. I didn't find things funny anymore. It hurt to laugh. I didn't have any sense of humor, like whole personality really shifted.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of my 6-year struggle, we'll call it, I started getting these monthly allergic type reactions where my left eye would swell, it'd become really red, it'd be itchy, and my eyes and my nose would pour. Like if I bent over, it'd be like someone turned the tap on. I'd have to walk around with tissue shoved up my nose. And it would take me a good 2 to 3 days to get over these episodes, and they were happening about every month. And I could never pinpoint what was causing them. And then I was extremely thin, like sickly thin, because I was on a low sugar, no carb diet. I juiced many times a week, I had salads every day, I ate the rainbow. So really was in rough shape.
Were you taking supplements too?
Well, I tried the next list I have. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm maybe a little.
No. Do it your time.
For 6 years, I tried everything under the sun. I spent thousands of dollars on testing and supplements.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was able to run my own labs, but I also went to doctors. My stack of tests are just everything you could imagine I tested for, because I was just hoping that something could explain the symptoms that I was having. And there'd be like little suboptimal levels here and there, but nothing like major. But yes, I did try hundreds of supplements, herbal concoctions, oils, vitamins, minerals, all that stuff.
Yeah. Amazing.
And pretty much everything made me feel worse. My body overreacted to everything, even things like magnesium, which everyone's supposed to feel great when they take magnesium, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, it would give me a panic attack. So for 6 years, I tried, I did like we said, the herbal concoctions, the supplements, the vitamins, the minerals. I did major autohemotherapy, which is where they take some blood out of your body, they inject it with ozone, they put it back in your body. I did 12 to 18 treatments of those. I did ultraviolet blood irradiation, where they take some blood out of your body again, they pass it through an ultraviolet light, put it back in your body. Wow. I did bioidentical hormone replacement, heavy metal detox. I did extensive parasite protocols. I did IV treatments. I did PEMF treatments, energy healing treatments. I had cavitation surgery, which I don't know if people are familiar with that, but the idea is that where you have teeth pulled, or in my case, where my wisdom teeth removed, that the jaw never completely heals. So it kind of becomes like a silent infection, like root canals.
Yeah.
So they open up your jaw, scrape away any unhealthy bone, and then stitch you back up and hope it heals better the second time. Yeah. And that didn't do anything for me. I mean, I'm sure it's great that it's not there anymore, but symptoms wise, it didn't help at all. Right. I did biofeedback treatments. I did the low histamine diet, the low oxalate diet, the low sulfur diet, the anti-yeast diet, the eat for your blood type diet. I really, like, looking back, I think subconsciously I knew it was something I was eating, because I was like trying all these different diets, hoping that something would stick.
Yeah.
So if there was something in the natural realm that showed any promise, I did it. And I stuck with each thing for many, many months to make sure, is this going to help me or is this not going to help me?
Yeah.
So, I didn't want to, I kind of avoided the traditional doctors because I didn't want to be put on medication. I knew, first of all, I didn't really think it was a good solution, but more so I knew how sensitive my body was. And I thought I'd be the one that would have the horrible adverse reactions to, these medications. But I consulted with no less than 8 functional MDs. And these were like the specialists, the top of their game. And the last visit I had with a functional MD, she told me, you have Lyme disease. Yeah. I did the specialized test out in Germany. It was a blood test and it came back inconclusive. You might have it, you might not have it. But she was like, with your symptoms and this test, like, you absolutely have Lyme disease. But it didn't make sense to me. It didn't. I was like, no, I don't think that's it. So
I think a lot of people with vitamin A toxicity are getting diagnosed with Lyme.
Oh, for sure. And many other things. I mean, even in my case, you can see it was mental, emotional, physical. There's weird stuff. Nothing could really pinpoint all of the symptoms that I was having. It was very systemic.
Okay, so what next? How do you? So first of all, I'm super impressed of like, I kind of have like a similar story, but I didn't have like the resources or the like. Let's check. Like I wanted to check every box you checked, but I was like doing self-diagnosis, self-experimentation. You know how it is. Like when,
Yeah, I know exactly how it is. Oh, for sure. Because
yeah,
guess what? Like these treatments and these protocols cost a fortune. Even the initial consultation with a doctor that's integrative or functional is a fortune. And
yeah,
if you're not working, how do you, thankfully my husband had a good job and my family was really supportive. And
yeah,
but a lot of this is done yourself, looking on the internet to see what can I try next,
yeah. And
what makes sense.
there's a whole lot of things to try, and
Mhm.
I thought about all those things that you mentioned. Even like I think I don't. The only regret in my life, I think, is getting my wisdom teeth removed.
Really?
And I have no idea if that was. I really don't know if it was a good or bad choice. I just feel like it changed the whole structure of my mouth.
Yeah.
I feel like I was going to be one of those people where it came in fine.
Yeah.
I was like 18 or 19. They're just like, yeah, this is standard procedure. Just go do it.
Mhm.
And I think I needed that wisdom. I think I could have used that wisdom.
I listen, if I could have kept mine, I probably would because it was not a fun surgery. But mine were causing me pain. So I had, no choice. And I think I was 19 when I got them done. So well before, any of the symptoms started happening and any of the issues.
Okay, so you tried literally every single thing possible.
And I'm probably forgetting a lot of things.
Yeah,
These were the things that I could think of off the top of my head. Like I'm sure if I sat on it longer, I could probably add another dozen things.
and same with like symptoms probably too. I know I keep remembering. Yeah, I keep remembering things like some things you just become accustomed and you make them normal to live with them. You know, the little things.
I look at it as a huge blessing from the Lord that when you move past these symptoms, you don't think about them anymore. That
Yeah.
you're not dwelling on them, because if I was thinking about all this stuff, yeah, it's better left in the past.
Okay, so how did you? What was the next step after this? What
Okay.
happened next?
So randomly, I found Dr. Garrett's information on nightshades. He wrote a great article on the
Yep.
West Price Foundation about nightshades, I thought it was a phenomenal article. So I thought, okay, I eat nightshades every day. I mean, I'm having the salads with the peppers and the tomatoes and, potatoes every now and then because potatoes were too high in sugar, right?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'm going to give up nightshades. And it was the first thing that ever made a difference. All of my joint pain and my neck pain was gone within a week.
Wow.
And so I was like, wow, this is definitely interesting. So I started following him on Facebook. And pretty much one morning I woke up and I was sitting at my kitchen table and I was thinking, okay, I've tried everything. I'm at the end of my rope. I got nothing left. The only thing I haven't done is I have not gone full vegetarian.
Right.
Now, my father at the time was a raw foodist. He's a vegetarian now. And he was pretty much like,
Wow.
you would be totally fixed if you just went vegetarian. So I was seriously considering going vegetarian. I was sitting at my kitchen table saying, I got nothing else to lose. I should just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I opened up Facebook and it was one of Garrett's first videos on low vitamin A. I don't remember if it was a live or if he had just done it though.
Yeah.
And he said something along the lines of, what if the foods that you're eating every day are poisoning you? All these healthy foods. And that kind of struck a chord because it was like a week prior, I was talking with my mom and I was like, I feel like I'm being poisoned every day. Like that's what it feels like is I feel like I am slowly being poisoned to death. So when he said that, I was like, well, that's interesting. And also I had discovered probably like a year prior that I had the BCMO1 genetic SNP. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I went into the whole. I have the 1 out of 3 methylated. I have the folate methylation. Yeah,
Okay.
MTHFR.
Well, have you looked at the BCMO1 at all?
I think I have that one.
Okay. So for those who don't know, they say that your body has a hard time converting beta carotene into vitamin A. So their solution is supplement vitamin A because you're probably deficient.
Oh my God.
So I did supplement vitamin A for about 2 months, and as expected, it made me feel horrible. This was
Yeah.
like towards the end. So
Yeah.
when he said, carotenoid, vitamin A foods, and poisoning, ooh, airplane.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if it was coming on my end. When he said that, it kind of piqued my interest. And I thought, okay, there's something to it. So I went on his forum and I read, at the time, I think it was the research forum, because this was 6 years ago. I read all of his articles that he had. And then I read Grant's book, Extinguishing the Fires of Hell. And I was blown away. And I was pretty convinced, wow, I think they're onto something. And I think this might be what's wrong with me. So my husband came home and I said, I found something. We're not going to eat salads anymore. And I'm not going to make broccoli, and we're not going to do, asparagus and all this stuff. And I'm not going to juice anymore. And he's always been really supportive. I think he probably thought, okay, this is just another thing. We'll see what happens. But I was pretty convinced to kind of make that shift. And within 3 days of avoiding high carotenoid foods, I woke up feeling the exact same way I did in 2012, when during that acute, paranoia, panic attack, really kind of out of my mind feeling. But I didn't correlate it with the diet. I thought literally I just had regressed, which was kind of always my fear, is that I was going to wake up in that acute phase and not be able to get out of it. But what was different is it came on suddenly and then it was gone in 2 days. And after, there was a slight feeling of being better. And I was like, wow, I think that was my first true detox. It was very different from anything I'd ever experienced.
Wow, incredible.
So at that point, I was pretty, for lack of better words, I was pretty pissed off, because then I thought about the past 6 years, all the treatments of feeling like I was literally killing myself, and all the doctors just being like, it's just detox.
Yeah.
You're just going through detox. It's like, that's really such a disservice, because it's not detox. Detox has a very specific pattern of it starts, it stops, there's a feeling of being better. It's not just, I feel like death the entire time that I'm doing this protocol or this diet or whatever,
Yeah.
So at that point, I was pretty convinced. And so as far as all my symptoms, they've all gone away. Every symptom that I listed before disappeared, with the exception of occasional anxiety, which I can usually look back at 2 or 3 days before I have kind of an anxious day. And I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't eaten all those potatoes, or, lifestyle or dietary things. There's usually something that I can pinpoint on it, but pretty much all the symptoms fell away slowly and gradually. They all just kind of improved. It wasn't a night and day difference. It wasn't a magic pill, but it's like you look back 6 months and be like, oh, wow, yeah, I really don't deal with that anymore. Or, hey, I'm falling asleep at a normal time. So that was really nice. My weight returned to my ideal healthy weight, and it stayed there no matter how many carbs and how many sugars I eat, which were definitely triggers for me back in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And then I had detox cycles through the past 5 years, for sure. Things haven't always been, I'd say, smooth sailing. I've had to troubleshoot, run labs, try different things, tweak diet here and there, but there's always been improvement year after year. And then I was well enough after about 14 months to try for a baby. All of my major symptoms were gone. And
before this, you were too sick to be trying, or you were trying and couldn't?
I thought we would never have children because I was too sick.
Yeah.
It wasn't even I thought, there's no way, I can barely take care of myself. There's no way I could take care of a child.
Wow.
Not sleeping at night, I'd be just totally wrecked.
Yeah.
So no, we didn't even try. I pretty much gave up on having children because I thought I'm just too sick. So 14 months in, to be like, I am well enough to where I can totally do this baby thing.
Yeah.
So I've had 2 healthy pregnancies and 2 healthy babies while on the vitamin A diet. And recovery after delivery was a breeze. Losing the baby weight was a breeze, which some people could say that's genetic. My mom had 5 and stayed really small, but the fact that I had weight issues back in my 20s makes me think that it's probably more lifestyle and not genetic. Yeah. But maybe it's both. I don't know. But Also, another thing I found interesting is none of my babies had jaundice or baby acne or peeling skin or cradle cap or any of these things that everyone's told are normal, right?
Yeah.
And my babies just didn't even have it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been a fun journey.
Congratulations. God bless. And
Thank you.
there's so many. So 6 months is kind of when you were like, you noticed like most everything went away except the anxiety. What were
14
like,
months. 14
14,
months.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and you've been 6 years on this diet.
Yep.
So is it like kind of where Grange Rue is like every year gets better?
I think so. Yeah. Like I
Yeah.
think I felt better second pregnancy than I did first pregnancy. I felt better postpartum, better than I did and so I do see that it's just continues to get better. Mm-hmm.
No, it's, watching Dr. Garrett Smith's live streams, and he'll mention a lot how like he has women in the Love Your Liver program who like are get super fertile and then they're able to have children. And to
Mm-hmm.
me, that's like priceless.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. Yeah. Definitely watch out. The second baby was a surprise. There's definitely a fertility thing with this for sure.
and there's so many infertile people out there that are looking, spending thousands on all these procedures. The other thing I like that you said is like no matter how much carbs, no matter how much sugar, you stay the same weight.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, like how many of us out there? And the other thing you said in the beginning too is like we straight right away we think gluten is the enemy,
Oh,
right? It's like gluten and carbs are the enemy. And you see a
yeah.
lot of anti-aging gurus now to this day, they'll be like, don't eat oatmeal and don't eat gluten.
Yep.
And and I was on in that camp, where I was just eating like white rice, or my carbs would come from plants.
Uh-huh.
And in the back of my mind, I always thought like, why can some people eat this and have a six pack and like I can't, right?
Right.
Like what is going on? There's something, and everyone says, oh, it's their metabolism, it's their genetics. In the back of my mind, I was like, there's something else here.
I
You
could
know?
go through a loaf of sourdough bread myself a week and I won't gain a pound, which me in the 20s, like I would have been substantially larger than I would have carried a lot more than 10 to 15 pounds on me. Um, and I do think, when we're talking, the other thing is, I eat organic 98% of the time.
Yeah.
Maybe the real nasty flours that are sprayed with glyphosate and, maybe that would react differently. Maybe that could cause people, to gain
Yeah.
weight. But yeah, I think the true number of people who are truly sensitive to gluten, like genetically and can't tolerate it, is a lot fewer than what we give credit to for sure.
I think you're right too. I think you're right too. So what is a I remember so tell me about your cookbook, and then how that all you went from like not feeling good to have a child to having a child and then writing a book and publishing a book and being an
Yeah.
author.
So last year I created the first and I guess only low vitamin A cookbook. It's 40 recipes, breakfast, dinner, dessert. I know some people can eat the same thing over and over, like the meat and beans 3 times a day. That was not me. Now, if I
Yeah.
had to, in order to heal, I would have done anything. But
Yeah.
thankfully, that wasn't me because I do love to eat. I love to cook. I love to bake. And I think when you're cooking for a family, you can't feed them the same things over and over. Like it's just not it's not going to work pretty much. I knew that if this worked for me, I'd be on this for the rest of my life. So am I going to eat the same boring diet over and over and over? So I created recipes that were varied, nutritious, and taste good. And I really created those recipes for my family and I. And then once I had a huge stack, I was like, I feel like this could really help people that start the program and don't know what to eat, like me. My first probably week or 2 weeks on the diet, I was like, chicken and I guess a baked potato. Like I couldn't wrap my mind around not having salads, not having greens, not using paprika and all of these things that when you
Yeah.
eat really healthy, you get really used to cooking with them.
Yeah.
So I feel like this diet really does help you stay the course, especially if you're cooking for a family, but also if you don't like eating the same things over and over. And it also has a great foreword by Dr. Smith, where he talks about, it's a really easy to read introduction. He introduces vitamin A, how we become overloaded with it. And so it's a great way to share information with family and friends where you maybe don't know how to explain the vitamin A issue. And you also want to show them, like, you can have banana bread and cookies, and you can have delicious muffins for breakfast and tacos for dinner. So I wanted to help people stick with the program and not
Yeah.
feel like they were on a super restrictive diet.
I think once you get on this program and this lifestyle, and once you start to see the results, and once you start to feel amazing, it's very hard to stop that, you
Oh, for
know?
sure. And I don't feel like it's a diet. I mean, literally every day when I
Yeah,
cook my breakfast and I eat my lunch, I'm like, how is this? I feel like paleo and primal and all those were substantially harder,
I
a lot
agree.
harder to avoid it.
I agree. In a lot of ways, it's a breath of fresh air because you're eating these,
Mhm.
it's ironic. Up is down and down is up. It's like all these health foods we were eating actually turned out they were not that healthy and they were actually causing the problem.
For sure. And I think it's important to point out, like, I got so sick not because of Accutane. I didn't do raw milk. I didn't do an overconsumption of eggs. I didn't eat liver. Like, it was strictly an overconsumption of carotenoids.
That's a great point.
So I didn't use retinol skincare. Like, I didn't do any of that stuff. It was just overeating all of these foods that we are told are super healthy.
And another thing you said too is you started feeling things like when you were a little kid.
Yes.
And
So, yeah.
I think of this too of like I think I've been having symptoms of this since a little kid too. And even I had like a seizure, I think, at 3 years old
Wow.
At a Chinese food restaurant. And then I'm seeing all this research that Dr. Garrett Smith did on seizures and vitamin A toxicity.
Yep.
And I'm like, and then obviously I grew up, my liver got bigger, and that never happened again, right?
Isn't that interesting? Yep.
So do you have your practice still?
No, so I had to take 6 years off. And
Hmm.
then when we started having babies, I really wanted to raise them. So
Yeah.
I'm at home.
Where hey, that's the most important job in the world.
I think so too. So I don't know if I'll practice. I'm sure I'll use my degree in some fashion. I just don't know how, and I don't know when.
I think one of the problems today is we are outsourcing motherhood to strangers, and there's nothing more magical than a mother and a grandmother. There's nothing more magical than a mother cooking for her children, right?
Absolutely.
Where
Yeah.
she's putting love, she's putting care, rather than outsourcing this to a stranger who might be on minimum wage. They might be angry. They might be using all these toxic ingredients.
Right.
And then same thing, you put them in a daycare with someone whose job it is to just, and there are a lot of daycares that are good, but let's be honest, no one's going to love a child like their own blood,
I
you
know.
know?
It's hard. I know a few single mothers and they don't have a choice. So I definitely feel for the mothers that don't have a choice and they have to put their babies in daycare. And I know they don't want
Yeah,
to do it.
true.
Yeah, I feel extremely blessed that I'm able to stay home and raise my babies and be with them every single day.
I think, what I'm really getting at is like, I don't think any mom out there should feel like because society will kind of be like, oh, that's all you do. It's like, no, that's the most important thing to do.
I
You
think
know,
so too. Yeah, I think so
you know
too.
what I mean?
I know I do get asked, wait a second, you have a doctorate and you're not working? I'm like, nope, I'm not. I'm thankful that I have it. I'm happy
Yeah.
that I have it. I might do it again once my kids are a little, a bit grown, but no, I feel like motherhood is amazing and it's enough.
And not only do I have a doctorate, but I actually figured out the solution to pretty much everyone's problem.
Well, that's the crazy thing. When you see like family and friends struggling and you're just like trying to show them this, and
Yeah.
it's very hard to share the information. When I first found it, I probably sent, I sent Grant's book and I sent Garrett's video out to almost every doctor contact I had.
Wow.
Ones that I had gone to, ones that I graduated with, and nobody would read it. It was the most frustrating thing. Or they'd read it and say, yeah, supplementing with vitamin A is really bad, but not the vitamin A foods. And so it's really, I feel like it could help a ton of people, but there has to be a paradigm shift. There has to be a shift in thinking because we've all really bought into the eat the rainbow. That's what's going to give you health and vitality, right?
Yeah. It's just all these new things. There's too many new variables. There's too many health foods. People like us who are trying every little thing. We thought we were doing the right thing. You know,
Hmm.
I was eating a sweet potato a day, a carrot a day. You know, 4 to 6 eggs a day.
Yep.
I had even tried the liver supplements. You know, oh, eat your dark leafy greens for your folate because you have the mutation.
Yep.
You know, and towards the end there, a lot of days I started missing the days, and it was almost like intuitively I knew, like, you know, oh, I didn't have a carrot or sweet potato today, and it's like, oh, I never finished that bottle of liver supplements.
Right.
It was like I kind of knew deep down inside somewhere, like, this is wrong, you know. And I'll never forget, I had my dog Kodiak the Shepherd, and I had gotten some liver, and I put it on the floor for him to eat some, and he just looked at me like, I'm not eating that.
My dog did the same thing.
And I was like, oh my God. I was like, but you're a dog and like you're supposed to love this. And then I would give him the muscle meat, the ground beef he would devour.
Hmm.
And then they're like, oh well, mix up the liver inside the beef. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make it like I'm I'm
Right.
I'm tricking the dog to eat something he doesn't naturally want to eat. Like, this doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah, I went through the whole feeding my dog raw. And so I'd make up the whole, the meat with all the organs and all this stuff. And yeah, they'd spit the organs out. They wanted nothing to do with it.
So
So,
I put Kodiak on. So I started checking labels,
hmm.
and I checked my dog's kibble label, and like the third or fourth ingredient is vitamin A. And he had been waking up every morning. He had been waking up and like coughing up a yellow bile
Oh, wow.
in the house. And I'm like, oh my God, it's doing it to my dog too. And then like the fifth ingredient was vitamin E. And then there was all this like other fortified stuff in it. So I throw it out. I'm like, all right, I'm just feeding him ground beef from now on and chicken and varying a month. So week one, this guy went through it bad. He was detoxing bad,
Really?
diarrhea, and throwing up in the yard.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh my God, like we poisoned the dog too.
Oh, no. The only dry kibble I have found that doesn't have vitamin A added is Origin. But of
Okay.
course, it has other things too. It does have some high vitamin A vegetables and it does have some other supplements, but it doesn't have vitamin A added.
Not only did it have vitamin A added, it also had like sweet potato,
Mm-hmm.
like green peas. Like, it was a lot of beta carotene in the kibble.
Because a dog would eat that out in nature. It's like, it just doesn't make sense.
And it just starts to all go back to like, oh, okay, yeah, there's a huge business in these dogs getting sick.
Right.
You know. And then like this lady, I forget her name, she's in a farm somewhere in the Northwest or Canada. She's like 80 years old, she looks like she's 50. And I remember her saying like, yeah, we just feed our dogs meat all the time and they live to 16, 18 years old.
Wow.
You know. And I'm like, she's like, it's those city dogs that get sick that eat the fortified kibble.
I'm sure. I
And it's
believe
like,
it.
we're the same way.
Right. Definitely.
So what about supplements? Do you do any supplements now, or have you totally like shunned away the whole supplement society?
So well, first of all, I test. I don't guess.
Yeah,
I'm definitely 100% with Dr. Garrett on that. I won't just pop supplements for the heck of it.
right.
So I do zinc occasionally. When I was pregnant, I really did it a lot more than I am now. I do psyllium every day religiously. I do psyllium. Um,
Tablespoon,
huh?
tablespoon.
I do two heaping teaspoons, but I'll increase it as I
And
go.
and when do you do it?
It depends. I used to do it before night, and now I do it at like 4 o'clock.
Empty stomach or like with food?
Yeah, so it just depends. I'm
It
not too
depends.
religious about it, as long as I'm getting it in. I think that's good enough for me. Um, what else do I take? I think that's it.
Keeping it simple, just zinc
Yeah,
and psyllium husk.
yeah. And if I mean, I've tried his minerals a few times, and I'm just like, I don't know. When you're feeling good, well, when I'm feeling good, I really don't want to mess with things too much, you know.
Yeah, I
So,
hear you.
so yeah, that's pretty much all I do right now. But that could
What
change.
what about the topical magnesium for that occasional anxiety?
You know what? Because I have such a weird history with magnesium, I mean, it gave me some really weird symptoms.
Yeah.
I will do a magnesium chloride bath but I'm
Yeah.
not all about putting it all over my body yet. But everything's subject to change. That's one thing I've learned. My diet could change, tweaking it
Yeah.
here and there. Supplements could change. I'm not opposed to anything.
I like your philosophy, and I like the less is more. I think the problem in modern day health right now is everybody's running to grab every supplement. I know me, when I was online, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, every time I saw some guru listing the benefits of some supplement, I would
Mm-hmm.
go buy it and try it, to the point where I had a medicine cabinet filled with probably 50 bottles.
Yep.
Um, and all you're doing is overloading your liver. All you're doing is complicating your system.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I'm telling people now too, especially in my community, is like, you just went from, say it's zinc, you just went 20 years never supplementing with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take it very slow and small. Don't go from never taking it to like doing the max dose, right?
For sure. Absolutely. Yep. Everything. And that's the other thing is some people can handle more. Like we're all so different. Our
Yeah.
toxic load's different. Our genetics are different. I know my husband can tolerate a lot more than me. Not just because he's larger, he's just built differently. His genetics are built differently.
Yeah.
Um, that was the other thing. Poor guy. Like he started paleo and primal with me.
Yeah.
Which our spouses kind of get drugged through the mud with us on these journeys, don't they? But so he started it with me, and he would have the what is it called? Keratosis pilaris, so the chicken skin on the back of the arms.
Yep.
He was having daily anxiety. It wasn't diagnosed, but it was called Schamberg's disease, which is like these broken blood vessels along the top of the foot, and it started extending up the leg. And when you look online, they say, we don't know what causes it. It's not dangerous. Don't even worry about it. And there's no cure. We haven't found anything that gets rid of it. And then he also started having monthly ear infections that would send him to the ER. He'd have like hot sauce on stuff. And then the next day he'd wake up, ear infection. So he was really having a lot of symptoms. And finally, I convinced him, I can't remember exactly how long I was on the diet, maybe 6 months. And I was like, you're already eating lower vitamin A because I'm cooking everything. But when you're out eating all this stuff, like just go strict for 30 days, see what happens. It's not hard.
Yeah.
And his Schamberg's went away. He hasn't had an ear infection since. His bumps on the back of his arm went away. He doesn't have anxiety anymore. But I've definitely, over the past many years, he can push the limits a little bit more. And he doesn't have any, immediate symptoms. So we're all different.
Was he excited when you were like, no more vegetables and salad?
He was. Yeah. Yep. He was like, if I never see a salad again, that's fine with me.
I find in a lot of conversations with grown men, and when I'm like start to tell them about how vegetables are poison and plants are toxic, they're like, yeah, this makes total sense. I'll never eat that again.
Yeah. Well, it's us women that want to have our salad, three times a day. So yeah, definitely.
And it's a new thing. It's another new thing. You look at these plants, 3,000 years ago, they didn't exist. They're all hybrids from the cabbage plant or the mustard plant.
Right.
If you came across them in nature, you would never put them in your mouth. And if you did, you would spit them out. You need oil, salt, seasoning, butter. To eat the salad, you need all these dressings, right? You need bacon bits or grilled chicken and we think we're doing the right thing. And it's like, that's why the message you're spreading, the message Dr. Garrett Smith is spreading, the message we're spreading, your cookbook, the low vitamin A cookbook, it's like, these are things that are going to really help people. But like you said, and we know, you have to do the work. We're not selling a pill.
No.
It's like we're sharing an idea that really helps, right? It's like, if you want to try that idea, you can.
Absolutely. For sure. And it's interesting going back to like making all these foods taste good. I remember maybe 3 weeks into the diet, I had a garden out my back. And because I live in South Carolina, it's like your lettuce can pretty much stay year round. So I had all these mixed greens and these broccolis, and like 3 weeks in, I was like, it took everything in me not to run out there and eat all the lettuce and all the broccoli, like just a deep craving. And now it's like, you couldn't pay me. I just can't even imagine it. But I think when you're eating it over and over and over, day in and day out, there's like probably some sort of addiction.
Yeah, you get into a habit.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the other thing too. When you see what these foods are doing to you on a molecular level, when you see that once you've had enough vitamin A saturated in your liver and every little drop, no matter how much, is spilling out into any and every tissue,
Mm-hmm.
causing destruction, it's a lot easier to not eat that food anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You
Looking
know?
at the research and knowing pretty much the reasons why you're not doing it definitely helps. But of course, feeling better and getting rid of symptoms that have been plaguing you is really what helps keep you motivated.
What were some of like, so you just read Extinguishing the Fire of Hell or Gates of Hell. Did you read his other book, Poisoning for
I
Profit?
haven't. I need to. I have not read it though. I
Did
was
you
convinced with that one. I didn't need any more, you know?
did
Very
you have any takeaways from the book you did read of Grant's?
I think the thing that really stuck, and now it's been 6 years since I read it. So,
Yeah.
you know, but I do remember when I was reading about the initial studies of showing that vitamin A is a vitamin, with the rats feeding them, what was it, casein
Pork lard.
and you're like, and we're still referencing this. That's what everything is built on, is these extremely flawed research papers. Like that pretty much blew my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those who don't know out there, the original cornerstone vitamin A studies that the Rockefellers funded and Merck funded, that proved without a shadow of a doubt, case closed, that vitamin A deficiency is a real thing. They were actually feeding the mice milk casein, vitamin A, and pork lard, retinoic acid. And I don't care who you are, if you put somebody on a diet of pork lard and milk casein, they're going to get pretty sick.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think all they proved was that diet is pretty bad. You
Yeah.
know,
Pretty much. Yeah. I just couldn't believe that that's what we based vitamin A as a vitamin in. Like that just really blew my mind. And I mean, the whole vitamin A deficiency thing, when I started the diet, my level was 49 serum vitamin A.
yeah,
And after I tested I don't test all the time because it's like it doesn't really make a difference to me. I'm on
yeah,
this for life. Um, so the last time I checked was last February, so February 2023, and my level was 11.7. So it's
wow,
still in there. It's like it's not going anywhere. And you're getting, even my low vitamin A diet, I am getting vitamin A every single
yeah,
day. You know,
yeah.
can't.
No, that's the other thing. There's no such thing as no vitamin A. That would be really dangerous.
I don't know.
But
Is it even possible? I mean, you have to just eat rice. I don't know what else you'd eat.
you'd have to eat like white rice and raisins every day,
Yeah.
which I've thought about doing that for like a week just to get a
Don't
head
do
start.
it. Don't do it to yourself. Low and
So
slow is the name of it. Like, it's just, there's no reason to rush it.
there's no reason to rush it. Once you start feeling better, like you said, I'm really interested in what your levels would be now. I want you to, if you ever get that tested again, let me know.
I
And
will.
then, did the doctors or the lab, or did they say anything? Because below 20 is deficient, and then below 10 is severely deficient.
It can't,
Consider,
I'd have to look at my reference ranges. Is that for all labs in the US? Is that the range?
yeah, they say anything below 20 is deficient, and anything below 10 is severe deficiency.
I'm sure mine's come back red alert then because it's, 11.
And they didn't say anything.
I read my own labs. I order my own
Right.
labs. I read my own labs.
That's what. Yeah, I do that too.
So no, nobody has said anything.
I
I
do the
haven't,
same.
really, I haven't gone out of my way to show it to anybody either. Like I haven't been like, hey doctor, look at this. What do you think? So
Yeah, because you did it yourself. You were your own doctor. You are your best advocate.
mhm,
It's caveat emptor, buyer beware, like everything else in life. No one's gonna care about your health like you.
absolutely.
You know. So, do you have anything else you want to share? You want to tell the world now that we're on this big stage with millions of viewers?
Oh, stop it.
You you probably wouldn't have been able to do this without the low vitamin A diet, right? You would have been anxious.
Oh, I would have been like, no, I can't do it. No, I
Yeah,
would have avoided it. Now, when I first started having anxiety, like before things got really bad, I would push myself past it. I was always able to push past.
yeah,
But no, in the thick of it, no way. I would have
yeah.
absolutely not agreed to doing this. But
Yeah.
yeah, to the last, like, if I want to leave, you said, is there anything I want to say to end it?
Yeah, or just anything on your mind, anything you want to share, if, like, people who are watching and listening out there, if they're gonna go on this diet or try this plan or
Sure. So the first thing is, as you can see from the list of symptoms, literally, if you're having any sort of health issue, there's no harm in trying the diet for 30 days, 60
yeah,
days, and just see where you go.
yeah,
See what happens. You're not going to become deficient in vitamin A in that time frame. I
yeah,
do think it's important to work with someone. You know, a lot of people can do it yourself, but I think it is nice to work with someone who can help troubleshoot for you, who can run some labs, get a good baseline, and kind of guide you through it, because the detoxes can get rough. It's not
yeah.
fun going through the detoxes. But yeah, I think it's an amazing diet. And I don't even call it a diet, it's a lifestyle. It's the way I'll eat for as long as I need to feel great. Feeling great is way better than anything tasting good. So,
Yeah, I agree. Well said. Feeling great is better than anything tasting good.
yes.
And I kind of call it like the picky eater's diet, right? It's like,
Mhm.
and to me, the picky eater was right this whole time. Here we were making fun of the kid who didn't want cheese or onion or tomato on his burger,
Right.
and
Yep.
he was actually right.
Absolutely. Now, I think you're a lot more strict, aren't you?
I'm strict right now. I've been doing savory oats in the morning, which is just bison and oatmeal
Mm-hmm.
with some Jacobin salt, and I'll do a little dash of maple syrup, and then I'll do bison and beans or steak and beans or chicken rice and beans or steak and rice, some type of variation like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll do bananas and peeled organic apples.
Okay. There's something about the men on the program. I think that they naturally gravitate to like a very short food list, and they
Yeah.
have no trouble just eating that day in and day out.
Oh,
Maybe,
yeah.
I don't know if it's something about women, but it's like I have kept my food list as large as I possibly could.
No, it definitely is. My wife's like, you eat like a prisoner. And then she's kind of like you. She's like, I can't do this, but she is doing it. But she's doing it in her own way. And she actually just kind of relapsed and had some pizza and garlic knots, and now she's sick.
Mm.
And she's like, she's like, never again.
But here's the great thing. I mean, you could be really strict like you and do
Yeah,
your diet, but to everyone listening, you don't necessarily have to.
you don't.
You don't. You can keep a lot of, I still have a lot of vegetables in my diet. They're all low carotenoid vegetables. I
So
still
let's talk about that. What vegetables do you eat?
have, okay, I do parsnips, white carrots, white asparagus, turnips, cabbage, cauliflower, onions, mushrooms. I know they're not technically a vegetable, but I treat them
Yeah.
like they are. I do water chestnuts. Um, I'm sure I'm missing a few, but that right there, that's still quite a list. You can do a lot of stuff with that. I still do a lot of different fruits. I do all the berries, all the apples. I do green grapes, bananas, pears, cherries, black figs. So, I mean, right there, I feel like you got more of an option than you did on paleo and primal, you know, as far as good tasting foods. You
Yeah.
can do potatoes, but I tend to not do great with nightshades. So it's every now and then.
Yeah.
Of course, beans, all the different meats you can imagine, all the different grains. There's a few grains that are high in carotenoids that you want to avoid, but most of the grains, the spelt flours, the wheat, the white flour, all that stuff is good. Um, and then I feel like I'm missing a category. What am I missing?
You got the grains, what about fats and fibers?
So I do the psyllium, and then a lot of my fiber comes from fruits, vegetables, or beans.
Okay.
And then as far as fats, as long as you're not using like anything extra virgin, is going to be really high in carotenoids. So those, you know, bright yellow, bright green oils tend to be higher in carotenoids. So as long as it's a naturally refined oil, not chemically refined, those are pretty safe. So the food list can be quite extensive. You can do a lot with it, and you don't feel like you're on a diet.
No. I think that is amazing to hear for some of the listeners out there who are like, it's too boring, it's too plain. The fact that you got your levels down to like 10, 11, and you're still you're not eating the rainbow, but you're eating a lot of plants still, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, celery, peeled cucumbers. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Celery is a big one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting my blood work back, and then definitely incorporating more celery, more. Where do you get your white carrots?
So Whole Foods has them. A few of our grocery stores around here have them.
They
Now,
have
there's
them.
a lot of times I'll buy the rainbow pack, and I'll just pick out the white,
Got
throw
it.
the rest to the critters.
There
Um,
might be some of that orange might have leaked into the white.
no, you peel them. You're fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so white carrots and white asparagus. Those are definitely, they're a little bit harder to find, but when you find them, it's
Yeah.
a treat.
I saw white asparagus in the Whole Foods the other day, and like no one was buying those or eating those.
It tastes the same. I actually was just talking with a friend of mine, the woman who did the photography for the cookbook. She's been on the program off and on for as long as I have.
Yeah.
And we were talking about white asparagus. I'm like, why isn't it more popular? It tastes the same. It just doesn't have all the carotenoids. It has everything else in it though.
It's a look, the carrot was not originally orange. The carrot was originally white.
Yep.
It was the Dutch via the French because of the king. They made the carrot orange because of the Dutch flag, and then they realized that an orange carrot sells more than a white carrot.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are today. Everyone's getting poisoned by an orange beta carotene carrot,
I know it. Isn't
and
it
they're
crazy?
and they're looking at the white carrot like that has no nutrients in it. I can't eat that. And it's actually the opposite. And of course, it's the opposite because that's nature's design. That's the way it originally, even though it's a hybrid and, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Okay, guys. So, Lia Miller, she is the author of the Low Vitamin A Cookbook. Look, wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
I have it right here.
Yeah. It can be found on Amazon. And also, it can be, you guys can follow me along on Instagram at the Low Vitamin A Cookbook. I post additional recipes, pictures of what I'm eating for the day, information on the low vitamin A. Yeah.
Restore and revitalize your health with this revolutionary cookbook focusing on low vitamin A and low carotenoid foods. And then Dr. Garrett Smith has the forward. There's dessert, there's sides, there's entrees, meatball stroganoff, pancakes.
Yep.
This is good.
Yep.
All right, thanks so much, Leah.
I
That's a wrap. That's a wrap for episode 7. Thank you for tuning in to 101s, and we will see you next time. We have Kelsey is next with a niacin discussion.
Ooh, interesting.
So that's going to be cool. Let's see how I can end this recording. I'm still new to this program. There we go. Boom.